Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so we're tackling a seriously universal struggle today. You know the feeling. You're sitting at your desk, just waiting for this magical lightning bolt of motivation to finally strike so you can actually get to work. I mean, we've all been trapped in that holding pattern, right? But what if that entire approach is just completely backward?
What if you literally never had to wait for motivation again? Okay, let's dive into this, because we are completely challenging the massive myth that motivation has to come before action. We've basically been taught our whole lives that we need to feel ready before we do something hard. But as you'll see, our sources today reveal a totally different mechanism for getting things done.
Section 1. The myth of waiting. An object in motion stays in motion. Now, we all know this as a basic law of physics, right? But author Steve Chandler brilliantly points out how this directly applies to human psychology too. Action is the absolute key here. You don't just magically get motivated to move, you move first, and that physical action is what actually creates the motivation. Doing absolutely anything is what leads to doing something else.
Moving on to Section 2, action creates motivation. 200. Now this number right here, this was the absolute secret weapon of basketball great Jack Twyman. Before every single practice, he had this super rigid ritual. He had to take exactly 200 shots. And get this, it didn't matter if he felt completely in the zone at shot 20 or 30. No way, he had to shoot all 200. Completing that specific physical ritual guaranteed that he'd lock into a state of intense motivation.
But hey, this isn't just a trick for elite athletes. The author actually shares his own personal ritual for dealing with really overwhelming problems. Instead of just sitting there hesitating, he takes the problem out for a long walk, sometimes literally for hours. And because he's already in physical motion, these unexpected ideas and solutions just suddenly appear. Initiating that physical ritual completely overrides his built-in hesitation.
All right, Section 3, distracting your left brain.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is looking at the psychology of why this works. Emmy-winning writer Fred Knipe used a ritual he called driving for ideas. Whenever he was facing a major project, he'd literally just go drive around the Tucson desert. Why on earth would he do that? Well, the physical act of driving gave his anxious, overly logical left brain a task to do. It's exactly like giving a restless child a toy to play with, which gives the adults, or in this case, the right brain, the peace and quiet it needs to generate brilliant ideas.
And then you have composer Glenn Gould, who took this to an absolute extreme. When he got stuck, he didn't just sit around in a silent room. He would turn on 2 or 3 radios at the exact same time, all tuned to totally different stations. And amidst all that chaos, he would sit and compose his own original music. This extreme sensory input completely overloaded his left brain. It basically short-circuited his internal critic and let his subconscious create without any judgment. Wild, right?
Which brings us to Section 4. You are the artist. Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, but I'm not a writer or a musician, so how does any of this apply to me? Well, that right there is what's called the creative fallacy. It's this completely mistaken belief that creativity only belongs to specific professions, like, painters or poets. But the real truth? Your entire life is yours to create. Absolutely everyone needs momentum to build their career and their relationships. You definitely don't need a paintbrush to be a creator.
And this brilliantly illustrates a powerful reminder from Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "Be an artist at whatever you do. Even if you are a street sweeper, be the Michelangelo of street sweepers." This is really all about viewing your everyday tasks, no matter how routine or mundane they might seem, as a totally blank canvas for creative, deliberate action.
So I want you to kind of see yourself as a medicine man, someone who literally needs to do a dance to get the healing started. You need to make up a little ritual today that is yours and yours alone. Honestly, it could be anything, tapping your desk a certain way, taking a quick walk around the block, or even just brewing a very specific cup of tea. Invent your own unique self-starting ritual so you can get into action way before you actually feel like acting.
So, what will your ritual be? You absolutely have the tools now to override that built-in hesitation. It's time to stop waiting around for inspiration to strike and start taking control of your own momentum right now. Thank you so much for joining me for This Explainer.